Hello and welcome to DFS Deep Dive. My name is Brian Craighead, and I will be your host. We're proud to be part of the FFSQC network. Jordan will be my co-host tonight. Jordan, how you doing?
Pretty good, Brian. How about yourself?
Oh, I can't complain. Just getting ready for another exciting week of some football games, but also Buymageddon. 6 teams on bye this week, so I'm kind of nervous. Did you get a chance
There's
to
a lot of them.
find it? Seemed to be a pretty good one.
Yeah, I got to watch a little bit of it at the tail end. I actually had a thing for work that we ended up going to, so I would have much rather been watching football, though. I'll tell you that.
I don't blame you. Hopefully, you had a decent time for that at work.
Yeah, it was pretty good, but like I said, I like football a little more.
Yeah, I don't blame you one bit. So, like I was saying, we've actually got 6 bye weeks this week, so it's a big one for sure. So our teams on bye that we've got the Cowboys, we've got the Bengals, we have the Jets, the Packers, the Titans, and the Texans. What are your thoughts about such a big bye week, Jordan?
Honestly, like I like the bye weeks a little bit more, just because it takes a lot of that. It takes a lot of the unknowns. I mean, it kind of gives you less choices, so you're it's good and bad because you are missing some of those key players or those big players that you like, but at the same time, you're getting less options. So I feel like you just it takes some of the thought process out of it because there's obviously there's good players and there's bad players, and it's just less players you have to sift through, really.
No, I agree. It was as we talked before we came on show. I had some problems coming up with some like less expensive stacks, but I'll look forward here in a few minutes. Giving your line, because you definitely came up with a good one. So maybe I was a little bit less creative this evening. You never can tell. But
Right.
so along with that, we had 3 primetime games. There is no Sunday morning game this week. So last night the Jaguars beat the Saints 31-24. Then on Sunday night, it's going to be probably the best game of the week. At least that's what they're hoping for, between the Dolphins traveling to play the Eagles. And last but not least, on Monday night, you got the 49ers traveling to play in Minnesota, playing the Vikings. So those are our primetime games. For several, I mean, actually not. I mean, I should phrase this. There were not very many high implied totals on the main slate this week. So I wrote down even some I wouldn't write down, but your highest implied for the week is the Seahawks at 26, and they're playing the Cardinals. Then after that, well, actually, let me read that. I missed one here. The Chiefs, they're at 27, and they're playing the Chargers, who are at 20. That's the highest total. But even that doesn't reach over 50 points. I said before, there's usually at least a game or two that you can target that have high implied totals, but not so much this week. And the other games with higher implied totals, you got the Bills at 25 going to the Patriots at 17. And I wrote these 2 down, which I typically don't do because there's usually 8 or 10 teams over 25. But you've got the Rams at 23, Steelers at 20. And last but not least, you've got the Packers at 23 and at the Broncos, who are at 22. So once again, not a lot of high implied totals this week, is there?
No, not at all. And that's where it's kind of challenging because most weeks you usually have 1 or 2 games where you're like, yep, that's the game. And this week you've got the one that almost gets there, and it sounds like a really good game, but honestly, I mean, the Chiefs and Chargers, I mean, the Chiefs defense has been really good this year. So it sounds really good on paper, but then, I start to think about it and I'm like, you know what? I don't know if that's going to be the game.
Yeah, I mean, I got a couple of Chiefs in my lineup. Unless I was willing to pay up for Eckler or Allen or Herbert, even, it's kind of hard to get a Charger in your lineup. So that's kind of what I wound up with, is having a difficult time getting the Chargers in. Like, Chiefs defense has been good this year. So it wasn't as juicy for the Chargers as I would have thought going into the regular season anyway, because I really wasn't expecting that much from the Chiefs defense. So we've got several injuries we need to discuss here. So these following players are out for the week. Greg Dulcich is out. Jimmy G, David Montgomery, Rashawn Johnson, Justin Fields, Pat Freiermuth, Kyler Granson, Kyron Williams, Ronnie Rivers, and last but not least was Damian Harris with a pretty bad concussion last week. And the following players are questionable. You've got Hunter Henry, DK Metcalf, Craig Reynolds of the Lions, Aaron Jones, Alec Pierce, Kareem Hunt, Daniel Jones, and Zach Charbonnet. And that's quite a list, but today a lot of players came off the list, came off the injury report. So it could have been a lot worse, especially, like I said, with all these bye weeks. So the following players came off the report, and some of them have been out for a little bit, and they're going to be available for play. Deontay Johnson, Jeff Wilson Jr., Tyler Lockett, Devontae Smith, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, Saquon Barkley, Deshaun Watson looks like he's going to play. We'll see. But as of last I heard, it looks like he's going to play. Devontae Adams also came off the injury report. And last but not least is a signing they made earlier in the week. The Rams signed Darrell Henderson. They've slated that he's going to play this week. So that's kind of a quick breakdown of our injury report. So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, the Darrell Henderson signing. I thought I saw him pop up in some of my season-long fantasy leagues. And I was like, man, I didn't realize he was on the Rams. But that definitely worries me a little bit with Zach Evans. I do think that Henderson, he already knows the system. So to come in there, I don't know how in shape he is or if he was on anybody's practice squad or anything like that. But yeah, that's I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what everybody else has to say and kind of what the consensus is around the multiverse of fantasy football talk.
Yeah, that's the funny thought. I mean, that's the same process I had when waivers ran on Thursday in my league of record. I was excited about Evans to a certain degree, but then I got to thinking he's only a 6th round pick. They didn't invest that much in him. They go out and sign both Darrell Henderson and also Myles Gaskin. So I don't know. I mean, Darrell Henderson's more concerning than Gaskin, but it just seemed like to me they've signed more players than if you're extremely confident in Evans as a 3-down back like Williams had been. Why would you go out and sign a lot more? So I'm not sure he's going to get the workload that Kyron Williams has been getting at all. So.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair. And I mean, and honestly, like the signings don't really surprise me because the only person you had left on your bench, on your practice squad was Royce Freeman. So
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, they could ride the hot hand. I mean, Evans at 4K on DraftKings. I mean, he's still him in for running back. So even if he were to get you 12 points, he's still 3x in his salary. And that's just 50 yards and a touchdown. And I think with him being on the roster for so long and these other guys kind of just being new signings. And they only spent a 6th round pick on this kid, but from what I've read and what I've heard around the league is, they really like him. The biggest reason why he fell down that far was due to an attitude problem, I guess I heard. So just somebody who was really hard to work with, but a real explosive kid. So I guess we'll see what happens.
I hope he does well. I'd forgotten to write him down on my sheet here, but I should have. So. That's he's at bottom basement pricing, so that's awesome. So, well, if you'd like to, I'm going to let you start tonight with the quarterback. Do we want to have a commercial first, or go ahead and
you want to go? How about we go through our lineups?
Yeah, your lineup first. I'm very sorry
Yeah,
about that.
look, no, you're good. We'll go through lineups and then we'll hit a commercial and then we'll run through quarterbacks in each position. So to start my week off, I was doing a lot of research, listened to a lot of podcasts, and kind of settled on this lineup here. I don't know that it's going to be my final one, but just looking at everything, this is the way I'm going to go. So I've got Jordan Love at 5,800, Zach Evans, who we were just talking about, at 4K, Kenneth Walker at 7,000, Marquise Brown at 5,300, Rashee Rice at 4,700. My stack partner with Jordan Love is Christian Watson at 5,600, Mark Andrews at 5,700, flex Austin Eckler at 8,600, and then defense the Cleveland Browns at 3,300.
I really like that lineup. Zach Evans helps you do a ton of stuff that, like I said, I missed it when I was setting my original lineup. A little bit disappointed that I didn't get that, but always change. But I like to stack. There weren't, to me, outside of like a Love and Watson. There's not a ton of medium price stacks this week. I didn't think.
No, there's really not. I mean, there is and there's not, and they just everything that's kind of in that 5,500 to like 6,500 range. Just it feels gross. Like it feels like do you really want? I mean, you just go through some of these guys, and it's like I mean, you got Jordan Love, Geno Smith, Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff. I mean, there's such a huge drop off in these guys. But honestly, if you look at any of I was watching one of the Millionaire Maker breakdowns from a few guys that I watch, and yeah, they were talking about how most of the time the winning stack is it's not a top tier quarterback, it's somebody in the the $6,000 range. So just kind of going and looking at that, it's like, okay, that's kind of where I want to be floating around, and it lets you do so much more with your lineup. I just don't think that Pat Mahomes or Justin Herbert are going to do it this week, and so that's just my opinion. But you never know.
Yeah, another middle price guy that I like, and we'll go over a quarterback preview here shortly. But Sam Howell seemed to make sense to me at his price. Now, would you feel comfortable stacking him with McLaurin? I'm not sure. McLaurin hasn't been great, but I don't know what your other options would be unless, I mean, it'd be tough.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
I mean, you almost have to stack Howell with two, though. I mean, but McLaurin's only $5,400. I mean, he's the number one receiver on that team. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could go with it, but yeah, I mean, it just, I mean, as much as research as we do, and all the data that goes into this, and looking at everything, and you can watch all the podcasts in the world. I mean, honestly, when it comes down to it, like, you can put yourself in the best position with the best lineup on paper, but you got to get lucky. I mean, those people just have to go off. Could be your day, could not be your day.
Exactly. No, it's especially in a cash lineup, it's a lot easier to do well in that than it is to bring down one of the big tournaments, for sure. I'm impressed that you've done well over the last couple of years or whatever, because I can do fine in cash, but when it comes to the bigger tournaments, it's hard for me to pull one down, for sure.
I will say that, like, the few times that I've won a big contest, it's my cash lineup, and then I'm literally making a tweak or two. I'm not changing. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel and like, oh man, I got to take this guy. Like, I'm getting off somebody who, like, okay, so just for example, say that everybody's on Kenneth Walker this week. It's okay. Hey, you know what? Kenneth Walker is great. Don't get me wrong. He's in a good spot. Or, and then it's just, well, you know what? I think that, Isaiah Pacheco's in a good spot. And, switching to Isaiah Pacheco, it's just looking at ownerships, really. I mean, if somebody's super high owned, and, I've got a bunch of high owned guys in my lineup, I look for that one spot where, somebody's in just as good, if not a better position, and just lower ownership.
No, that makes perfect sense. So I'll quickly go over my lineup, and then we'll go to a commercial break. So I went ahead and I went with Mahomes, even though it was mentioned he might not be it, and maybe he may not be, but we'll see. He's He's playing the Chargers. He's at 8,300, and the Chargers are 32nd in terms of fantasy points given up to the opposing quarterback. So to me, he made sense. So that's why I went, and I went ahead and went with that stack with Rashee Rice. He's in your lineup. He was at 4,700. So I like I said, I wasn't thrilled with the medium price stack, so I went a high end quarterback and a low end wide receiver. So that was about what I could come up with. Then my two running backs, like you said, I'm a fan of Kenneth Walker this week. I think he's going to be pretty high owned. And then my second running back, and Walker's sitting at 7,000. My second running back was Jerome Ford. I know he's one of your personal favorites.
Yeah.
He's sitting at 5,100, and he's going against the 23rd defense for fantasy points. So I went with him. Then I've got my three wide receivers. I've got Zay Flowers playing the Lions at 5,700. I've got Rashee Rice, as previously mentioned. I went with the Mon-Ra St. Brown. He's playing against the Ravens, and he is at 8,000. Then I went with tight end Luke Musgrave, and when we were asked to put our anytime touchdown tight end only, I went with Luke himself.
So we're the same there. I went with him as well. So
did you really?
Yep.
So yeah, I went with him at 3,300. Then my flex is Drake London playing at the Patriots, and he was no, that's not. Is that right? No, I've got it written down wrong. I forget who London is playing this week. Oh, well, he's playing the Bucks at 5,100. And last but not least, I got the Lions defense against the Ravens at 2,700. I get that right. The Falcons are playing the Bucks, right?
Froze up there.
You still there?
That? Yeah, I'm still here.
So, I've got it written down on my sheet, but I got who are the Falcons playing this week?
Who's who?
The Falcons. Is it the Bucks?
Yes. Yep. They're at Tampa Bay.
Okay, that's what I thought. I had it written down wrong on my sheet here. So, London's playing against the Bucks. So,
okay.
If you have any thoughts or suggestions on that lineup, I know you don't like Jerome Ford, so
no, and I will say that. So I didn't write him up in my list, but I was reading a couple things about him, and especially if Kareem Hunt's out. I mean, he's getting the Nick Chubb treatment. I mean, they believe in the kid. He's they're 3 down back at $5,100. I mean, that could be a way to get different. I mean, if you can find the salary for it, I mean, why not? I mean, there, like I said, there's a lot of, if you kind of look at it, like I do like a lot of the higher priced running backs, but there's a lot of options in that lower dollar range. So, I mean, he makes perfect sense. So, yeah, I don't have any qualms with any of that.
I could, like I said, one could save $1,100 off Ford and probably go elsewhere on another position if they wanted to. So that would be my only thought in looking over the lineup is whether to go Ford or go to Evans at $1,100 cheaper to save money elsewhere. But that would be my one suggestion for my own lineup. So if you'd like to, we'll go to a commercial break and come back and do our positional previews.
Absolutely. We're going to go ahead and bring you Durham Remodeling.
Serving the Quad Cities area since 1973. And with over 50 years of excellence on their track record, you'll see why it's so easy to trust their experts when it comes to all of your home improvement projects. This family-owned business has you covered on all your needs. Protect your home or building from the elements today and get great roof repair services. Need new windows? No problem. Durham Remodeling can upgrade your windows and doors. Whether you want to upgrade the little details in your home or office, or want to tear a room down and start fresh, the expert contractors at Durham Remodeling have your back. Even the smallest changes can completely transform your space. Ready to start entertaining your friends for backyard barbecues? Durham Remodeling will help you plan, design, and build your deck and patio for the perfect outdoor space. Durham Remodeling's work is 100% guaranteed, so you can rest assured that you're getting the best service around. Call 309-786-6715 today for your free estimate for all your roofing, siding, flooring, windows, and painting needs. That's Durham Remodeling, 309-786-6715.
All right. Let's roll through these quarterbacks here. So starting at the top, like we kind of mentioned before, there's that elite group of 4 guys, and then it really kind of falls off after that. So you got Pat Mahomes at 8,300. The guy's he's almost a lock for 20 points every week. The biggest problem that I have with Pat Mahomes is $8,300. He's got to come up with at least 32 points to pay off his salary. He hasn't done it yet this year. The Chargers are the 32nd ranked, defense against the pass. They're giving up more points to the quarterback. It seems like it's a Mahomes smash game, but I just don't think that, like, the Chiefs defense has just been good. And I think that, Justin Herbert wasn't great last week against the Cowboys. And the Chiefs have honestly been playing really good football, especially on that side of the ball. So I just don't think they're going to have to do a whole lot. I think they can lean on the running game, which they have been with Pacheco, and they can lean on their defense. And I don't think Pat Mahomes is going to have to do it all. So that's why I kind of like staying in the salary range where I'm at, in the 6,000 range, just because I only need 20 points from those guys compared to 35. So I wrote him up because he's live for a 30+ point performance at any point in time. The guy's amazing. It's just I just don't see myself paying up for that when I do like a lot of the running backs on the slate. I didn't write up Josh Allen. As bad as New England's been, Bill Belichick is still a really good defensive-minded coach. Buffalo's not at home, and Allen tends to play to his competition. He has had pop games, though. I mean, he had almost a 40-point performance against Miami, but that was a statement game. They came out and they were like, hey, we're going to win this game. But then they lose to Jacksonville, and then they put up 14 points against the Giants last week. So is Josh Allen? He's the same thing as Pat Mahomes. I mean, he's got to score 30+ points. And can he get there? Absolutely. He does a little bit more with his legs. I would play Josh Allen over. I mean, I guess I'd still play Mahomes over Josh Allen just because Mahomes is he's in the better game environment where Josh Allen just isn't. I mean, they could get ahead, and they still like to put on. They keep their foot on the gas when they do get ahead, but I just don't think he's going to have to do it all. I wrote up Justin Herbert, but as we kind of started talking about him more, the more I think about it, the more I don't like him. $8,000. I don't think he warrants that salary. He had a ceiling game in week 3 versus the Vikings, but the Chiefs defense is a different animal. But the game environment's really kind of the only reason why I'm putting them there. If you want my opinion on the top 4 quarterbacks, this is the one I like the most. It's Lamar Jackson. I didn't really think too much of him when I wrote it up, but he is the cheapest that he's been all year. It's only by $100. He's been floating around the $7,700 to $7,800 range. But he's $7,600. He's in a competitive game. He's at home. Has the Giants or the Lions defense been good? Yes, they have. But these are the types of games where Lamar Jackson shows out and shows what he can do. He's been more consistent this year. They really don't have a running game that they can lean on. And that's why I like stacking him with Mark Andrews or Zay Flowers. So yeah, Lamar Jackson is he's kind of been in my thoughts for a pay up. And a big reason why is also because I don't think he's very high owned either. Yeah, he's not even no, I lied. He is the 3rd highest owned quarterback out there right now. So that could change, but I do like Lamar. Justin Fields is out. Matthew Stafford. So this is where the price drop happens. From Lamar to Stafford, it's an $1,100 price drop. Listening to a few podcasts, like I said, there, the statistics are out where the millionaire contest has been taken down by the $6,000 range. So this is kind of where you want to live if you're going to enter that big type of contest, just because it lets you get to those chalkier pieces or, the guys who have a little bit more upside. And really any quarterback can any quarterback can put up a huge game. I wrote up Matthew Stafford. They're not going to have Kyron Williams or Ronnie Rivers. So they have Zach Evans, who's a rookie who's only had a few touches. They just signed Darrell Henderson, but he's probably going to have to throw the ball a little bit more to win this game. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense hasn't been the best, and with Cooper Kupp back, I think he's a vacuum. He's going to catch anything Stafford throws his way, and Stafford's just going to he's just going to reap the benefits of all the yak that he's about to get. Right after him is Jared Goff. Says the Ravens are in the top 5 against the pass. So, but no David Montgomery. You did say Jahmyr Gibbs he's off the injured list, right?
Yeah, he'll play. Not sure about Craig Reynolds. So Gibbs is going to be pretty much a 3-down back this week.
Well, I'll tell you what, this could be, maybe this is a Gibbs week. Maybe Jared Goff's not the guy. But Goff had, the last two games. Yeah, exactly. And that's where, and that's why I don't think I'm going to get to Goff. But he has had 27.4 points and then 25.4 in his last 2 games. I think it'll be a little bit. This is one of the games where I don't think. I think I wrote this one up, but maybe I did. So it's a 41.5 point total. I think it could get a little bit higher than that. I like the over. But yeah, Goff. Then you get down to Geno Smith. Geno Smith going up against a pretty bad Arizona secondary, but he's not been he hasn't been the quarterback that he was last year. He really hasn't done a whole lot except for that game against the Lions, and even then he only put up 26, which what was his salary at that one? He was at $5,900. So at 26, yeah, that gets you almost 5x. So Geno's got it in him. He just hasn't been as consistent as he was last year. But if there's going to be a game, I honestly like the Seattle Arizona game to be one of the better ones on the slate. I think this could be probably the highest scoring game on the slate, if you wanted my opinion. After that, Kyler Murray's still out. Jordan Love, who I went with, started the season with 3 20-point games. Last 2 have been duds. They're coming off a bye. The 2 games that he wasn't very good in, he played against the Lions defense, which has been fantastic. And then the Raiders, who with Max Crosby in there, he's just been able to pressure the quarterback, and he really made Love uncomfortable. So, but they're coming off a bye. Aaron Jones might be back, and they get one of the worst defenses in the league in the Broncos. So that's why I like Jordan Love. So then we hit Deshaun Watson. We don't know if he's going to play. Same thing with Daniel Jones. Don't know if he's going to play. Somebody that you mentioned was Sam Howell. I wasn't too keen on writing him up, but he's got one of the better matchups. I think Brian Dable and the Giants played out of their ass really last week. Like it was a homecoming. They wanted to make a statement, and they really did. They really held Josh Allen in check, and I think that this might be a letdown for their defense. Sam Howell's not good, but I think it could be another high-scoring game that we see. I skipped over Russell Wilson, skipped over Baker Mayfield. I didn't write up Josh Dobbs, but as the week's kind of gone on, I've liked Josh Dobbs. The rushing upside. The guy runs. 6 attempts 3 weeks ago, 12 attempts 2 weeks ago, 3 attempts last week, and then 7 after that. So yeah, he's rushing for on average 30 yards at least a game. So if he gets in, if he can rush one in for a touchdown and has to throw the ball against the Seattle defense, at $5,300, all it takes is a 20. You put up a 20 and you're there. And he's done it. He's done it twice this year, almost 3 times in a row. But then the last couple weeks against Cincinnati and Los Angeles, he just hasn't been very good. But I do like Dobbs. If I'm going to stack him with anybody, it's going to be Marquise Brown. Garoppolo's out. I didn't write it. Minshew going up against Cleveland. I don't like it. Desmond Ridder has been the he's been the Millie Maker winner in the last 2 weeks in a row. So let that sink in. At $5,200, he's passed for over 300 yards and at least one touchdown in the last 2 weeks. Against Houston, he had 30 points. Last week, he had 22.1. And like I said, at $5,200, I mean, that's all you have to do. You come out and you put up a 20. I mean, that's 4 extra salary. You're good to go. Tyrod Taylor, he's another guy who is going up against Washington. Washington hasn't been great, but I didn't write him up. But he's, like I said, you get into some of these low price quarterbacks, and you're like, yeah, you could almost make a case for all of them. Kenny Pickett, I don't like Kenny Pickett against the Rams. We'll have to wait to see who's getting the start between Aiden O'Connell and Brian Hoyer, going up against Chicago's defense, having a full complement of weapons, and then who's there? Tyson Bagent.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, he looked ugly last week. I know it was kind of limited, but man, if the Raiders weren't such an expensive defense, I'd be all over the Raiders defense. I mean, I think that guy's going to be running for his life. Then you got maybe PJ Walker if Watson's still out. But yeah, I mean that kind of wraps it up. I think I hit almost everybody. Was there anybody that maybe I mentioned that you liked a little bit more than I did?
Yeah, there's two. I feel part of me is playing the role of a homer because I'm a Steelers fan. But at some point in time, the Steelers offense is going to be less ugly than it's been all year. And I'm willing to take at $5,000 a little bit of a roll on Pickett this week. And the other one I think I slightly disagree on is Sam Howell. He's actually been – the last 3 weeks, he's been QB 12, QB 8, and QB 4 with 6 touchdown passes over the last 3 games. And I'll never take a huge stance on him, but at that price tag, it's kind of a little hard for me to get away from him.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I debated on when I first was listening to a lot of the first takes and stuff like that. It was him and McLaurin. That was a stack that I made. So, and then it kind of, as I started listening to other things and kind of going back and forth, I just landed on that. So, but we'll see where he lands. I mean, honestly, if he's, let's check that here. He's the 4th highest owned quarterback on the slate. So, that's why I kind of like, I like Jordan Love a little bit just because they're projected about the same. And Jordan Love is, he's a little bit more expensive, but his ownership is down. So
yeah, and the tournament kind of pulled down the big one. I didn't realize Hal was 4th. So yeah, it would be hard. It's good to go contrarian in a situation like that. So
yeah, 100%.
But one thing about Pickett also is the Deontay Johnson we playing this week. So
yep,
that should help him a little. So.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it could open some things up for Pickens as well. So, and I've got him written in my wide receivers. So we'll talk about him a little bit.
And I think the Rams can be beat. So we'll see. I think it'll be a competitive.
Yeah, it'll be, like I said, there's quite, I really like a lot of the afternoon games. There's a lot of afternoon games. Like I'm glad I have Red Zone because I think a lot of those afternoon games are going to be like touchdown here. So.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking forward to it. And the weird thing is, so you got the afternoon games and then you transition into the best game of the week on paper, the Dolphins and the Eagles. So from about 3 o'clock till about bedtime, you got a pretty nice window there.
Yep. It's just a matter of getting through the first half.
As I don't think that they pan out as well, but that's okay. Maybe my advice for people listening is to sleep in till 3 and wake up in 7 straight hours of football. So
I like that.
So I'm going to go over my running backs. Do we want to go over running backs and then do the commercial or vice versa?
Brian, we good?
I'm okay over here. Am I freezing on your side?
Yeah, it keeps kicking me out too. It's really weird. All right, well, let's hit a commercial and then we'll jump into running backs.
Yep, sounds good.
All right. All right. Here's a something from my boy Ryan Allison.
Transform your body into a canvas of exquisite storytelling and profound self-expression with the skilled hands of Ryan Allison. Craft custom masterpieces that tell your unique story together. Ryan specializes in color tattoos as well as black and gray. He also practices a diverse range of styles, whether you're passionate about anime, fantasy, mythology, pop culture, video games, movies, the esoteric, nature, creatures, dot work, black work, or you have your own ideas. Ryan embraces your distinct vision with an unwavering commitment to passion, precision, and originality. Each project he undertakes is a labor of dedication, a fusion of research, artistic ingenuity, and profound symbolism. His commitment to authenticity is nothing short of remarkable, infusing his very soul into every creation. From half and full sleeves to bodysuits, awesome back pieces, to majestic front panels, Ryan is the artist for anyone seeking powerful, breathtaking artwork. With every stroke of his needle, he weaves a tale that's as unique as you are. Don't settle for ordinary tattoos when you can elevate your ink to the extraordinary with Ryan Allison. Embark on your creative journey by booking a consultation with him and proudly exhibit your story on your skin. Visit Ryan at Why Not Ink Studio in North Park Mall or check out his portfolio online at ryanallison.art. Ryan Allison Tattoos. When you choose me, you're not just getting a tattoo, you're getting an experience.
Check him out. He does fantastic work.
So I've been designated as the running backs for the week, and my first one I've got written down. Like we've said, it's not the absolute best matchup. The Chiefs' defense is better than I thought they would be, in all fairness. But my first one is Austin Eckler. He's sitting at 8,600, which the price is really hard for me to jump on board with, but that's where I'm at. Said the Chiefs defense gives up the fifth fewest fantasy points, but you still got to write him down. I mean, getting him in your lineups and I think you said you got him in the flex, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Just coming back for the first week that he was there, or his first game back, and bear with me a second here. So his first game back, he comes in and posts almost 70% snap count. So it felt like they might ease him in, and they really did. So I think that just goes up. I mean, he took 60% of the rushes, and then was also heavily involved in the passing game. So I really like him. I think his upside is there, and if the Chiefs are getting after it, or getting after Herbert, then I think he's got to check it down a lot.
And like for my lineup that I broadcast here, I could probably go from something like a Jerome Ford down to a Zach Evans, and then get off of Monroe St. Brown and the Seattle defense, go even cheaper, and get Eckler in my lineup, which basically substitute one of my top price players from being St. Brown to Eckler. I wouldn't mind that as an option. I like Eckler a lot. I always have. So I'm kind of a homer when it comes to Eckler. So my second guy I've got written down here is Josh Jacobs. He's sitting at $7,400 against playing at the Bears. Third is Bijan. He's playing at the Bucks at 7,300. My favorite, and probably what will be a lot of favorites sounds like a lot of people, will be Kenneth Walker. I really love the matchup. They actually give the 30th most fantasy points, and the Cardinals are just not a good defense, period. He's sitting at $7,000. Next one I've got is Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is questionable. I think he plays, but if not, you can always go with A.J. Dillon. Broncos are once again a bad defense, period. Actually are absolute last in fantasy points given. So wouldn't mind trying to exploit that opportunity if I could. Then I've got James Cook playing at the Patriots. But once again, as we previously talked, Bill Belichick may get fired, but he at least has an opportunity to try to shut down the opponent's best offensive weapons. It's not Cook, but they'll focus on him if they choose to. He's sitting at 6,400. Then after that, I went down to actually my second favorite play behind Kenneth Walker is probably Pacheco this week, to be honest. I really like Pacheco a lot. He's playing against the Chargers and sitting at 6,100. Then I mentioned earlier an opportunity for stacking Brian Robinson Jr. He's sitting at, 5,800 against the Giants. I don't know that I've got this written down, but I don't know that I love it now that I'm looking at it again. Ramondre Stevenson sitting at 5,600. Then another pretty good matchup. The Packers give up the 29th most fantasy points. The Broncos offense looked putrid last week, but Javonte Williams could be an opportunity there. It's sitting at 5,400. I've already talked about him quite a bit, but Jerome Ford at 5,100. And then the last couple for me, I didn't have it written down. Zach Evans at 4 should be kind of a slam dunk play at 4, but we'll talk about Darrell Henderson may have a role, so we're not sure. But at 4,000, it's kind of hard to get away from him. We'll say he gets 15 touches at least, and it's kind of hard to get away from that kind of weekly volume. And last but not least for me was Deontay Foreman, sitting at what do we got here? 4,800 looks like. And once again, Khalil Herbert's out this week, and today they named Rashawn Johnson out, so he's got the backfield to himself once again. It sucks that Fields isn't playing, but for that low of a price, he might have some value there. So those are my thoughts. How about you, Jordan?
Yeah, I just got a little update on Zach Evans, and a lot of people are starting to kind of come off of him a little bit. So it does suck because it's like, when you start writing start doing your lineup, you're like, all right, man, I got a guy who's only $4,000. Like, I can really open up what I'm going to do this week, like 100%. And it's starting to get more and more like one of those things where it's like, you know what, I should probably avoid it. But like you said, if he comes out and gets 10 to 12 touches, who knows what he could do. But as of right now, I don't like, he's probably a tournament option at this point. Like, I wouldn't play him in my cash lineup. Like, if I'm going to play a double up, like, he's starting to kind of fall off the list. Pacheco and Walker are both the two highest owned running backs right now. So I'd probably stick to those guys because you can really, when we start talking about the wide receiver position, there's a lot of wide receivers that are super cheap. You really hit on pretty much every. I got two that you didn't touch on that I liked. And if I'm going to pay up for this guy, I'm probably going to pay up for Eckler. But Saquon Barkley, what I wrote up, I mean, he's really kind of the same player as Eckler. He's just as explosive. He gets used just as much. I mean, the Giants run through him, and if they're winning, I think it's probably because Saquon Barkley scored once or twice. So if you needed to save $500 somewhere, I think Barkley's just as good as a play as Eckler. Just the game environment is just a little bit different. And I mean, but yeah.
The other thing
then the other guy was Keontae. Oh, go ahead.
The other thing about Barkley is on a less dynamic offense too. The Chargers didn't look good last week, but they've got much better overall offense than the Giants. So
yeah, I agree with that. And then another guy pretty cheap, Keontae Ingram. Everybody, at least I was on Amari DiMercato last week, and that didn't pan out at all. Ingram's the one who came in and got the snaps, and then Damian Williams, I don't know where he came from. But Keontae had 10 rushes for 40 yards and then 2 catches for 11 yards. So it's 3.1. I mean, 7.1 points. I mean, at 49, I mean, you need more than that, obviously. But just a thought. I mean, like I said, I think this Seattle-Arizona game is going to be the one that kind of pops off. So it's an option. But yeah, it's ugly.
Ingram didn't do a lot, but I remember one of our listeners asked the question, and at least I got the right answer about Ingram over, I forget, maybe it was DeMarcado. I forget, it was some lesser back that wound up doing absolutely nothing. So
it was DeMarcado.
I was proud to get that one right at least. So
yeah, I wasn't so lucky. I picked him up in my season long league, and now it's sounding like another thing. I ended up, I've been terrible in season long this year, and I picked up Evans in season long, and now it's sounding like that's going to be a bust too.
that's the funny thing about it. Not in regards to your situation, but like on Wednesday, Wednesday night, Thursday morning at 2 a.m., you have to do your waivers. You have to put them in kind of Wednesday night or very early Thursday morning. And I've used pretty much all but say 20% of my fab for the season. And I put in 20% of the fab for Evans, and somebody put in more like 35%. So I lost out. But now I'm beginning to wonder if I shouldn't pick up Darrell Henderson just as,
Yeah, right. Probably get him super cheap.
Yeah, you can get him for free. So it may be a situation that I pick up Darrell Henderson as, Williams sounds like he's going to be out the week. What was it? Week 11? I think their buys in 10. Yeah, their buys in 10. So I think that you might need a running back for the Rams all the way up to week 11. So you might get a couple weeks out of that show there. So.
Right. Yeah. And you never know, if it's more of a split backfield, if he's got the hot hand, he could be the guy who winds up as a 3-down back. But yeah, I think that covers running backs. So do another commercial from Route 96, and we'll jump into wide receivers.
For Fantasy's Sake has teamed up with Route 96 Boutique to raise a little more cash for Toys for Tots this season. From September 10th until the end of November, 10% of all purchases made with Route 96 on Sundays will be donated to us for our Toys for Tots drive. At Route 96, they believe in girl power. They want a place that people of all shapes and sizes can shop and feel empowered and beautiful. They want you to be the best you possible, and they are committed to bringing you different styles while also providing some basics to express the true you. You can find them on Facebook and at Route96boutique.com.
Route 96, check it out. DJ wants us to talk more about tight ends. It's National Tight End on Sunday, or Tight Ends Day on Sunday. We'll get there, DJ. We have a system. All right, let's jump into the wide receiver position. This is the position that I think, or at least in my best opinion, we've got some room to save. Is that your phone, Brian?
It is. I'll go mute.
All right. So starting off at the top with everybody's favorite wide receiver, Cooper Kupp. The guy's been back for 2 weeks. Just absolutely fantastic numbers. 12 targets 2 weeks ago, 9 targets last week, 7 catches and 8 catches respectively. Over 100 yards in both games. And then last week he scored a touchdown. $9,500 is a huge price to pay. But he's got to put up 40 points just to stay relevant in the tournament. And that's a lot, but this guy can do it. I mean, he's almost locked in for at least 25 to 30 points a week, it seems like. So, I don't think he's going to hurt you in a tournament if you don't have him. But man, 30 points from one guy is it's huge. Going down, wrote up Stephon Diggs. When the Bills lose, they usually come back with a vengeance. So I expect this game to be a little bit more one-sided. The Patriots haven't looked good. Diggs is Allen's favorite target. So if they are going up huge and they are winning, I think Stephon Diggs is probably the recipient. Then you get to Keenan Allen. So I wrote Keenan Allen up just because of the game environment. But with Eckler back, Keenan Allen takes a little bit of a hit. I mean, Eckler sucks up the touchdowns. If unless Allen's running a touchdown in from 25 to 30 yards out, Eckler's usually the one who's getting it at the goal line. So if I had to pick between Keenan Allen 86 or Austin Eckler 86, I'm going Austin Eckler. But Keenan Allen, he's live for 25 to 30 points a week as well. I mean, he's just that good. I didn't write up Devontae Adams, even though there's just a quarterback play I think might hinder him a little bit. I really do. I took the under in that game. I got the under at 40.5, and it's dropped to 37.5. So I do think that game's just, I don't think it's going to be very good at all. So I just want to make sure that I'm not lying to you guys. I want to see what I locked that under in at. I lied. I got it at 38.5. So, but it's dropped to 37.5. I still think that under is a lock all day. It's I think it's going to be pretty bad. But like I said, Devonta Adams is he's good enough to where he can do it. I skipped over Amon-Ra St. Brown. I know that Brian had him in his lineup. I do think that game could get competitive, and Amon-Ra is definitely somebody who can break the slate. Then Puka Nacua. So the first week that Cooper Kupp was back, he really didn't take a hit. He really didn't drop off. He still scored 20 points, but last week you really saw it. He only got 7 targets, only caught 4 of them for 26 yards, no touchdown. And even the week before that, the touchdown really kind of saved his day.
Transform your body into a canvas of exquisite storytelling and profound self-expression with the skilled hands of Ryan Allison. Craft custom master.
Whoa.
Sorry about that error there.
You're good. I was like, what the heck just happened? I was like, who's talking? I was like, that's not Brian.
No, it was me. So you were talking about Puka, but
yeah,
I'm up for just a minute. One thing to keep in mind about the Puka from last week is Kyron Williams in the second half, they gave him like 19 carries. So it's maybe Puka has a little bit of reverse. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, and I'm glad they did give Kyron one. I mean, because I think my lineup last week, I was like, man, I'm all over Raheem Mostert like everybody was, but I really liked Kyron Williams, and I really liked DeAndre Swift. And both the Eagles and the Rams ran the ball like a combined 5 times in the first half. I'm like, what are you guys doing? I was like, why are you guys getting? I was like, you guys are getting away from your identity right now. And then, yeah, thankfully they came out and they started handing the rock off. And I was like, all right, that was a big reason why I cashed, is because of that Kyron Williams touchdown. So thank the Lord for him. So yeah, you could be right about Puka Nacua. I mean, I just don't think the double-digit targets and stuff are going to be there for the guy. But they could have to lean on Stafford's arm. So
yeah.
If they're undecided about what they're going to do in the running back position, it's definitely a possibility.
The worst thing is DraftKings didn't adjust Puka. Puka will be successful, but not as successful as DraftKings price, I don't think.
Yeah, he definitely needs to be more, I'd be more, even if he was close, 6,800, 6,700, somewhere around there, I think is where that's a fair price for him anyway.
Yeah.
So then you have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. They're both right about the same price. Atlanta's been pretty good. I don't trust Baker Mayfield, so I don't have any interest in those guys. I wrote up DK Metcalf, but he's a game time decision, as we talked before. I really do like the game environment, but if he doesn't play, I am going to be probably all over Jackson Smith and Jigba, but we'll get to him in a little bit. I skipped over Michael Pittman going up against the number 1 Cleveland defense. I skipped over DJ Moore with is it Baggin or Badgett? I think it's Badgett. I don't know. Yeah, so I skipped. Yeah, I'm not about that life. Then same thing with Jacoby Myers. It depends on who's throwing the ball, but I mean, I don't like Jacoby Myers if Garoppolo's not in there. So the next guy I got to is Amari Cooper. It's only 6,100 going up against Indianapolis. I do have reservations. If PJ Walker's in, I like Cooper a little bit more than if Deshaun Watson's in. Deshaun Watson, I think if he comes back, he hasn't really thrown a whole lot. I mean, he's come out and said the AC joint is one of those things where it's not about the pain, it's about him being able to throw the ball. So he's dealing with the pain. It's just, can he grip the ball right? Can he throw the ball right? Can he get it downfield? So, I just think Cooper could probably have. I think Deshaun Watson being in there kind of limits, him with a deep ball, or Amari Cooper's he's a yards after the catch. He's an animal. He's tough to bring down, and he can do a lot with some short passes. But I just worry about Deshaun Watson. So I wrote him up. I like the guy. I think he's too cheap for what he can do, but we'll have to see what happens at the quarterback position. Tyler Lockett was, when I wrote him up, he had a questionable tag, but he's not questionable anymore. And if DK Metcalf is out, I do like Tyler Lockett. I do think, like I said, I think Njigba is going to be a little bit more my range, though. He's at $3,900, he can open up a lot for your lineup. While Lockett's almost double his price at $6,000. I skipped over Gabe Davis. I just don't like the game environment. Jerry Judy's another one. It was funny to watch Steve Smith rip into Jerry Judy the other night on was it Sunday night or Thursday Night Football, when they played the Chiefs, and Steve Smith just laid into Jerry Judy, calling him he's not the guy. If anybody calls him, he's gonna tell him not to trade for him. And yeah, I mean, I just think Judy let it get to him in that game, and just Russell Wilson just hasn't been good. So we'll see what happens. I don't like Jerry Judy a whole lot. I just thought that was funny. So I missed this guy, Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers has had almost a 30% target share as the season's kind of rolled on. Going up against Detroit, he's slowly become the number one option in this offense. I think him and Mark Andrews are definitely the guys. Yeah, and even Flowers he's been on the field more than Mark Andrews, and he's seen more of the target share. So Zay Flowers at 5,700, he's almost starting to become what Deontay Johnson was a few years ago, where he's just getting tons of targets, and DraftKings they really haven't raised his price a whole lot. I mean, he's stuck around the mid 5,000s for the last 1, 2, 3, 4. This will be the 5th week. So I think once he gets over to the 6,000 range, then you can start kind of questioning it. But I still think he's a rock solid play. Scrolling down, Christian Watson, he was in my lineup. I like that against the Denver secondary. A Steeler for you, George Pickens. I do like George Pickens. I don't know how much. I don't think Deontay Johnson really affects Pickens' upside. I think Pickett's still going to go to him a lot. And like I said, it could open up more if they do have to worry about Deontay out on the field. Terry McLaurin, like you said, you made a good point about Sam Howell being, in the top 15 of quarterbacks the last 3 weeks. And Terry McLaurin he's $5,400. I mean, for a number one wide receiver for a team that airs it out quite a bit, I like the upside for Terry McLaurin. Probably one of my favorite plays on the slate, Marquise Brown, $5,300. He's kind of in the same boat. I mean, yeah, Arizona's not good, but man, this guy just, out of 6 weeks of play, 4 of those weeks he's had at least 10 targets. He's had no less than 5. And sometimes he just, like last week, he had 11 targets but only caught 4. The week before that, he had 10 targets but only caught 4. So I think some of that is to blame on Dobbs just missing. But there were a couple deep balls that Marquise Brown, that were just missed. So, if he breaks one of these games, he's going to have a monster score. I'm not on Cortland Sutton. We talked about Drake London. You had Drake London in the flex. The way to beat Tampa Bay is through the air. So I definitely think Desmond Ridder keeps it rolling here. Deontay Johnson's back. I guess we'll see. We'll have to see how that game goes. I'm not going to be on him, I guess. Romeo Dobbs, he's somebody else that you can pair with Jordan Love. 4 targets last week, but only 1 catch for 4 yards. So with the return of Christian Watson, Dobbs is really going to take a back seat. And then even with Musgrave out there, I think that Dobbs automatically becomes the 3rd choice on the team. Josh Palmer, he is somebody that he showed some life after Mike Williams was, everybody kind of picked him up after Mike Williams was ruled out for the rest of the season, between him and Quentin Johnston. And, Palmer really didn't do a whole lot the first week against the Raiders like we all thought he would. Then he was out. But then against the Cowboys on Monday, he had 7 targets, 4 catches for 60 yards. So, he 2x'd his salary last week. And there's a possibility for more. He's got one of the better game environments. Rashee Rice, we both had Rashee Rice in our lineup. I just like the game environment. He's slowly working his way up the depth chart. He's on the field for a ton of snaps. He gets targeted, and then Justin Watson's out this week too. So they got to go somewhere, and Justin Watson always seems to be like the deep ball guy for Pat Mahomes. So I definitely see Rashee Rice getting a few more looks. Skipped over Dotson. I skipped over Downs. Kendrick Bourne was somebody last week who huge game for the Patriots. 11 targets, 10 catches for 89 yards, and then he even had a rush attempt in there. So if Mac Jones and the Patriots are going to have to throw, I mean, Kendrick Bourne could be on the radar. Skipped over Josh Reynolds, skipped over Tutu Atwell, skipped over Elijah Moore. Next guy I've got is Smith and Jigba. If DK Metcalf is out, I really, really, really like that play. At 3,900, he's becoming more involved. 5 targets last week, caught 4 for 48. I mean, that's still only 2x his salary. But if you take DK Metcalf's 7 or 8 targets and you split them evenly, if he gets 4 more chances to catch the ball and do something with them, especially against a bad Arizona defense. Then I got Wan'Dale Robinson, $3,800. DraftKings just they don't want to price him up. And I understand that the Giants are bad, and that's probably why, but 8 targets last week. And there's not a whole lot of guys that are under 4K that are getting 8 targets. So I do like Wan'Dale Robinson. Michael Wilson's another guy. Great game environment. The number 2 in Arizona. Well, I guess I wouldn't say number 2. Him and Rondale Moore are kind of 50-50 right now. Check this matchup sheet here real quick. Arizona. So Michael Wilson's on the field more, but Rondale Moore he gets more targets. So Rondale Moore is a little bit cheaper. So I think you couldn't go wrong with either of them. If you were doing like a Dobbs stack and you wanted to do Dobbs +2, but I like Michael Wilson or Rondale Moore for a little bit cheaper. Then the last guy I wrote up was Kadarius Toney. Same thing. He's on the field quite a bit. Him and Rashee Rice are getting the most targets out of the wide receivers on the Chiefs, and with Justin Watson out, he could have a little bit more involvement in the offense. So, there's a few other guys at the bottom, but I mean, like Sky Moore, MVS, Mecole Hardman is now on the Chiefs, so you kind of have to keep an eye out for him. But yeah, I mean, honestly, like that $5,000 to $6,000 range, I think you can really, really, really do some good things with your lineup.
I have one add-on. Curtis Samuel to me at 4,000. Somebody I could stack with like a Sam Howell if I really wanted to go inexpensive. And
yeah, he's live for a deep ball.
And my question of the day for you would be, if Metcalf is out and you were given the choice of Rashee Rice versus Njigba, which way are you going?
I think I'm going Njigba. Like I said, my personal thoughts on the Chiefs-Chargers game is it's not going to live up to the hype. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring, explosive game. Where I think the Arizona-Seattle game, I really do think that I think that could be a 28-31 game. I'm really starting to like that game environment. The more I talk about it, the more I'm like, man, I'm really interested in it. But
yeah, and you save yourself about $800. I would be on the Njigba side, and that could give me $800 somewhere else. So
right. Well, and just you think about all the weapons on the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, there's just a lot of weapons, and there's a lot of mouths to feed. And then with the emergence of Pacheco and how good he's running the ball, if the Chiefs get up by a few touchdowns, or even if it's a 10-3 game or a or a 17-3 game, I just see them handing the rock off and letting their defense work. So,
yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. So we've got defense and tight ends left over. Do we want to go to a commercial now and finish up with that and our picks for the week, or do we want to hold off and do the defense?
Let's run. Let's just keep rolling. Let's keep rolling.
Okay.
We're sitting at an hour and 5 minutes, so probably power through the rest of it.
I don't have a ton of either defense or tight ends necessarily, but I do have
I'm in the same boat.
Some written down. So let's roll with that. I'm trying to find my tight ends here. How that work for you when you can't find something that you're looking for?
That's always how it is.
Yeah, exactly. Well, why don't you go ahead and talk about something while I'm trying to find my tight ends here? Why don't we run a quick commercial?
I can do that. All righty.
For frequency's sake, has you covered on all things sports. From the squared circle to the hardwood and the gridiron to the speedway, we've got something for everyone. Walk down the aisle with the boys from Cards Subject to Change every Sunday as they take a deep dive into everything pro wrestling. Need your gambling fix? We've got you there. Enter Pit Row with Rod Villagomez and Fast Money as we win the checkered flag with NASCAR, Xfinity, and truck race winners and props. Football more your style? Explore the waters of NFL DFS with DFS Deep Dive with Brian Craighead and Jordan Kernan each week. More into the science portion of the game? We've got a double dose of action there. The Professor John Bush and Dennis Michelson take you into their science lab and dissect your week in the data lab. Want an analytical take? Nick Gurl and the team at Gridiron AI come to you each week with The Lab. Need to know who to start last minute? The network's flagship show, For Fantasy's Sake, is here in a pinch. The fellas come to you live every football Sunday from 10 to 11:30 Central with the week's best DFS, gambling, and lineup advice. And wrap up your Sundays with Joe Winkle and Nick Brinks as they come to you live with educated ignorance looking at all the day's action. Can't get enough of Joe? He comes to you 3 times a week. Not enough football on Sunday? Not a problem. Kick your feet up at lunch on Monday and slip on into the football lounge with Mark and Dan while they look at the week that was in news, notes, and more. For frequency's sake, you know what we mean.
Like I said, it's somewhat limited to compared to normal. So it's I've only got a handful of guys written down here, so wasn't quite as excited. But keep in mind, this is tight end week, so some of the better tight ends are actually like on the Monday night game. You've got both Hawkinson and Kittle, and then on the Sunday night game, you've got Goddard. So I mean, you've got some pretty good tight ends playing there. So my first tight end I wrote down, you've always got to start in with him, is Travis Kelce, but he's sitting at $8,000. So do with it what you wish. It's not easy to get him in, but if you can, it's worth it. Second, I've got Mark Andrews. He's playing versus the Lions at 5,700. I've also got down Sam Laporta playing at the Ravens. He's at 5,300. I've got the combination of Kyle Pitts and Jonnu Smith. You go whichever way you like to. They're priced at $4,600, so not a lot of difference in price there. Next, I've got Gerald Everett. I don't love the price, but I like the matchup at the Chiefs. The Chiefs have a good defense, but 13th against the pass, so it's kind of middle of the road. He's sitting at 3,800. Next guy to come focus on is Logan Thomas. He's playing at the Giants at 3,500. And last but not least, and I think this must be one of our favorite plays because we win anytime touchdown with him, was Musgrave at the Broncos at 3,300. Any additional ones I've missed out on, Jordan?
Yeah, trying to think here. No, I think the only other one is Michael Mayer. The guy, what is he? Raiders, 2,700. He kind of came on a couple weeks ago. Some people were talking about him and how he's going to be more involved, but he really came on last week. 5 catches for 75 yards, and at 2,700, if it is one of the backup quarterbacks for this team, I do think they could do some checkdowns and stuff. So yeah, he'd be the only other one. And let's shout out Kyle Pitts. He did it. If I'm not mistaken, it was his first touchdown in the United States. Congratulations, Kyle Pitts.
Wow. Well, he's been on my DFS lineup for 2 weeks in a row, and 2 weeks in a row he's done well. So,
Well, let's see if he can do it a third.
Yeah, I timed his upswing, so I'm proud for that. So,
Hey.
And
yeah. Other than that, I didn't have any other. I didn't think there were any other tight ends. I mean, if you wanted my favorite tight end of the week, it's Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews or Luke Musgrave if you're looking for a pay down. Honestly, those will probably be. I'll probably make a few lineups, and those will be the only guys that I target. So.
yeah, I like the Musgrave for cheap, relatively cheap. So
Right.
So I'm
All
gonna
right,
kick.
what do you got for defense?
Yeah, I'm gonna kick the defense real quick. I've got the Bills at the Patriots, 4,200. I can't agree with this, but I wrote it down anyway. Rams versus Pittsburgh, 3,900. Being a Steelers fan, I don't want to agree with it, but it's a decent enough matchup. Pittsburgh gives up the 19th most fantasy points, so it's a decent matchup. I got the Packers playing at the Broncos after last week's abysmal game for the Broncos. It kind of makes sense, and they're sitting at 3,700. I got the Bucks versus the Falcons at 3,600. One of my favorite plays is Washington at the Giants, 3,500. The Browns at the Colts, 3,300. The Browns put on an amazing effort against the 49ers last week, so I really on the Browns. Seahawks versus the Cardinals, sitting at 3,200. The Steelers at the Rams, 3,100. My play was the Lions at the Ravens, 27. And then I don't mind the reverse roll, the Ravens versus the Lions at 25, even though the Lions have been very good on the offense. So those are my thoughts.
Yep, I think I've got two. I've got a higher priced one that did you mention the Raiders?
I did not. I'm not. They average less than 5 fantasy points, so I try to, in general, leave them out.
So you're not wrong, and I agree with that. But the last 2 weeks, so yeah, they're averaging 4.5, but the last 2 weeks, 12 points against Green Bay and then 9 against New England, with no Justin Fields, with really no running game. To me, I like Max. Max Crosby has been an animal. He has been fantastic. That's all you hear about the last couple of weeks about how he pressures the quarterback. You've got a rookie back there. I think he was an undrafted rookie. I just think Max Crosby really gets after him, really makes him uncomfortable, causes some mistakes. So if I was paying up, I think that's where I'd go as the Raiders. And then I don't mind the Cardinals against Seattle if you had to take a punt. They're one of the cheapest defenses on the slate. They average 5.7 points per game. Granted, the only reason why they're that high is because of the first week against Washington, they put up 19. They haven't been super fantastic since then, but sometimes all you need is 5 to 10 points, and you're pretty well golden. If they put up a 19, that's 20 times their salary, but or 10 times their salary. I'm sorry. But yeah, it's 10 times their salary, which they can do. I mean, and then it's kind of contradictory about what I was saying. I think this game really pops off, but I think you could get there. There are a lot of experts saying that Arizona, although not favored to win the game from Vegas, there's been a lot of, me and my buddy were talking earlier. He was like, he put Seattle down as his survivor pick, but there's a lot of people saying that this is upset city. So just, if Arizona pops off, you heard it here first.
So speaking of picks, you got any picks for us tonight?
I absolutely do, because I did a parlay with them. I did one with Dan. We parlayed 2 picks. We'll give that out to you on the Sunday show. But I took the Rams -3 against Pittsburgh. I got Cleveland locked in at I got them locked in at 2.5 against the Colts. They've recently jumped to 3.5. And then I have the Packers -1 against the Broncos.
Those are good picks. I've got both of the. I've got the last two. I've got the Packers and the Browns with mine, and I included 4 more for fun. I've got the Bills -8.5 at the Patriots, the Commanders -2 at the Giants. I got the Chiefs -5. That just seems too low to me versus the Chargers. And last but not least, I went with my Monday night special. Now, if McCaffrey's out, I might McCaffrey and Debo. If either one of them are out, I would just not play it. But as it currently sits, I'll go 49ers -7 at the Vikings. So
yeah, I was on the Bills. I couldn't bring myself to do it because like I don't know. Like Allen he disappoints me all the time. Like the Bills, I mean, I don't know. In the games where they should smash, they never do. And then in games that you think are going to be close against like Miami, they put 48 points. I mean, who knows?
yeah, we spent our whole Sunday show making fun of the Giants, and then they almost win the game. So
right,
you never can tell. Oh,
yeah, that was.
So, Jordan, anything else about picks tonight?
No, sir. I think that's good. Like I said, I think there's going to be, I think there's going to be some games that pop off. I mean, the slate doesn't look fantastic. It looks pretty ugly, especially the morning games. But I really do think that there's a few that are going to pop off, and I think it should be some pretty fun games to watch. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm always excited for Sunday. So,
oh, who isn't, right? So, why don't you remind us where they can find you, what you got going on?
All right. So you can find me on X at jfantasy_sports. We're always posting stuff on the deep dive. I'm always sharing picks. I'm always doing something on there. And then you can catch myself and Brian here at 7:15 every Friday night for the live breakdown of DFS Deep Dive.
And then as for me, you can find me at VandyGrad92 on X. Jordan, I've seen the show sheet, or I think they call it the shot sheet, but Jordan and I are both going to be doing the Sunday main show this week. We're on a lot of weeks. That's at 10 o'clock, so we're both proud of that show a lot. And then you can also find me. I'm with another network, goingfor2.com. And I do a what's called the Dynasty Gambit over there on Thursday night pregame show at 6 p.m. So that's where you can find the both of us. We want to thank you for tuning in. Like Jordan just said, we're here every Friday night at 7:15 Central. And thanks again for tuning in with y'all. We hope y'all have a great week, and hopefully you can get through Bamageddon. For now, take care.
See you guys later.